Hello dear friends, the name of our story today is 40 Pigeons. Once upon a time there was a sultan in one of the countries a long time ago, but the trouble of this sultan exceeded the mountains. Whenever he had a child, it disappeared before it was 7 days old. The sultan and his wife could not find a cure no matter what they did. They did not leave any place they did not go. They did not leave any scholars they did not apply to. Finally the husband and wife gave themselves alone and started to cry. What is this happening to us? We had 40 children and we couldn't bear to look at their faces, and they all disappeared and they burst into tears. Days followed days, months followed months, and one night the sultan couldn't sleep. He got up from his bed sighing and puffing, got dressed and went out, walked and walked all night long, and when the day was about to dawn, he came to a fountain to wash his face and hands. As soon as the sultan left, the pigeons flocked to the fountain, drank water from the fountain and washed their wings, flapping their wings. The sultan was watching these beautiful pigeons. One of the pigeons was watching one of the pigeons. The pigeons flew away after this conversation, playing with the clouds and competing with each other. The sultan heard the pigeons talking and said to himself, "I understand you best. We share the same fate." After saying that, he went out of his place, drank water from the fountain and sat under a tree, and it was not long after that he fell asleep where he was. And then he had a dream that he was standing by a fountain and a white-bearded dervish came to him and grabbed my shoulder and said, "Son, you look very neat. What is your problem? Tell me what your problem is. Maybe we can find a cure for your problem." And the sultan poured out his problem with longing. After listening to him, the dervish said, "O Sultan, it seems that a fairy has kidnapped your children and disguised them as birds. The pigeons you see in that fountain are all your children. The solution to your problem will end when you find the fairy who kidnapped them. Don't waste time. Go straight to the fountain, drink a glass of water and then continue on your way." The sultan woke up in panic and excitement. He did what he was told one by one. He said what harm would come from trying and set off. He went a little, he went a long way, he went uphill, he went 6 months and a fall. He came to a place surrounded by trees. He came to a place surrounded by trees. He saw a crowd in the dust. He saw a crowd in the smoke. He said to himself, "What is this crowd?" He said to himself, "What is this crowd?" He turned back, then he risked everything and approached them. When he approached them, they were astonished by what they saw. They were the offspring of a giant. The smallest one was almost twice as big as him. He started to brood, and at that moment the giant cubs saw him, and the giant cubs, who had never seen a human being before, were very scared of him and they started to run away from him. At that moment the sultan heard a terrible sound. He looked to the right, he looked to the right, he looked to the left, he looked to the left, he looked back and saw a huge giant. The giant was the mother of the cubs. He thought that the sultan wanted to harm his cubs. He started to walk angrily towards him and said, "O son of man, what do you want from your cubs? Why are you scaring them?" The sultan was trembling with fear. He did not believe it, even though he brought 1,000 reasons that he had not done anything. The giant said that he would understand now. He threw the sultan on his shoulder and started walking towards his cubs hiding in the forest. The giant called his cubs one by one and they all started to come out from here and there. The giant asked if the sultan did anything to them. The cubs said that he did not do anything to us. He did not do anything to us. We were scared when we saw him coming towards us and we ran away. Upon these words, the giant's anger passed. The giant released the sultan, but the sultan did not let the giant go after the giant. They continued to walk together. They went a little, they went a long way, they went up and down, they went up and down, they went up and down, with high walls on 4 sides. They came to a place surrounded by a wall. The giant hit a corner of the wall with a whip. A door appeared where he hit it. They entered the door. A big palace appeared in front of them. It turned out that the giant was living here. The giant asked, "We are not cannibalistic giants who eat human flesh, but we cannot trust human beings, at all. What are you doing in this land where birds fly and caravans pass by?" The Sultan told them one by one what had happened to him. The giant listened attentively and then asked. The Sultan thought that it would not hurt to try, so he set off, went a little further, went a little farther, crossed the slopes of the mountain and found the giant, took him up to 10, told him his brother's greetings and told him what was wrong, After the red giant listened to the Sultan said, "I will help you. As soon as you reach the mansion of Hyacinth, knock on the door, but do not enter. A black-faced woman will appear in front of you. Tell her that the red giant sent me and that he wants the eldest of the children you have stolen so far." The Sultan said without wasting time. He set off and walked for 3 days and 3 nights and finally arrived at the palace of the Hyacinth and repeated what the red giant said without eating or drinking, and after the Hyacinth listened carefully, he said, "Go ahead and I will follow you." Not long after that, the Hyacinth came out and greeted the red giant. The red giant asked him what he wanted, and the red giant said that the man you see is a sultan, and whenever he has a child he works 7 days. Before he has a child you have been stealing the children of mankind for years. You see how miserable they are. Give your children back and let them be happy. Hyacinth said, "That's all well and good, but you can never ask why I only steal the children of the Sultan." The red giant asked, "Why do you steal the children of the Sultan?" The Hyacinth said that the Sultan punishes them because they cannot rule their country with justice. They take tax after tax and all they have is themselves. So I kidnap their children and steal their children. I am taking revenge, said the Sultan. Upon these words of the Hyacinth, "I love my people, I do not oppress anyone," said the Hyacinth. "What about your vizier? There is no limit to what he hangs and cuts, especially what he does," said the Sultan, and the Sultan was very surprised by what his vizier did and put him in charge. He thought that he had left it empty, so he said that he would do what was necessary as soon as he left. And the Hyacinth charms said a word, and immediately 40 pigeons came out, and after a few charmed words, all 40 of them became human beings, beautiful and beautiful girls side by side with handsome boys. The Sultan, who saw all 40 of his children at once, shed tears of joy and thanked the red camel and the Hyacinth fairy. The Sultan, who embraced all 40 of his offspring, found the cruel vizier without wasting time and gave the necessary punishment, and the Sultan acted more carefully after that day, traveled from corner to corner, listened to the complaints of the people, and ruled their country in justice.